Hello?
It's hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello there.
Yeah, we're talking about the highly underrated film by DreamWorks, with an amazing cast of Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, David Cross, Jonah Hill, and Brad Pitt. Sounds like a hit? Oh, no? Seriously? Alright, anyways. Megamind came out the same year as Despicable Me, Shrek Forever After, and How to Train Your Dragon. Seriously great competition. But this film really sits as an underrated genius, and I'll spend another day talking about the entire movie itself, but Megamind was ahead of its time in terms of its villain. Similarly to Despicable Me, Megamind is a film about a villain who becomes the hero. But unlike Gru, Megamind has
Presentation!
I really have to get this off my chest. I don't want to live in a world where we chose Despicable Me over Megamind and have 2 Minion movies and 3 Despicable Me movies. I mean, seriously.
I thought that battle went really well. I mean, I have a few notes.
Notes?
But they can wait. Oh, you can take me to jail now.
Oh, no. I was thinking more like the morgue. You're dead!
Oh my god.
We have to talk about the main character of the story before we can address our favorite incel villain, Hal. Megamind very subtly challenges the nature versus nurture argument, which I'm not really going to get into because I've already picked a fight with the Despicable Me fans and I'm not looking to aggravate the Twitter philosophers who have discovered this video by happenstance. Megamind grows up in prison, but as a kid, we see that all he wants to do is be good to people, making popped corn and being bullied for being the odd man out. We see immediately that Megamind is good at heart, and that very subtle show-off of it depicts how important his change from supervillain to hero becomes. Because he never wanted to be bad. It was an obligation because of his continuous showdowns with Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. Megamind's growth, while based on a lie, comes out of his transaction of goodness. Now you might already be questioning something. No, it's not okay that Megamind lies to Roxanne, and kinda gets away with it. But there's one important key piece to Mega Man that separates him from Titan. When he's caught in his lie, he respects Roxanne's free will, he doesn't throw a tantrum, and he doesn't try to gaslight Roxanne. He knew he messed up, and he was caught in the ruse of being a liar. Where does he return? He returns to being the bad guy, because he believes that's all he's worth, until his showdown with Titan. Right now we have to talk about the villain, who can't even spell Titan. I mean, it's five letters.
No kind of saying this, you're wrong. Mom was right.
And he spelled it with 7. He's not brilliant. Our introduction to Hal is very subtle, and this is something that Megamind does a great job of doing. Because animation is typically targeted towards younger audiences, this film never or rarely does talk down to its audience. So when the movie introduces us to Hal, it's all played for laughs, but it's all depicting a man who believes he deserves Roxanne's love because he's nice to her. He also makes some really stalkerish comments. Yeah, I don't really care that stalkerish isn't a word, but if you've had a stalker like me, it's a real word.
Hey, I love you, whatever. And I'd be watching you like a dingo watches a human baby. No, that's the best part. It'll just be like you and me.
Wow, that,
Well, look, partner, I'm her partner. Hey, she's been through a traumatic
I
experience
better take him home.
because you accidentally hugged him instead of me. The door unlocked. In case you want to check on me later.
Hal believes that he isn't getting the love he thinks he deserves because he doesn't have the muscles of Metromind. Something that's very interesting about Roxanne is that she's not actually into Clark Kent or the Superman of this movie. Roxanne is into Mega Man, because as Bernard, he shows he's a capable, intellectual individual. So while Hal thinks he has to be built like a Norse god and have the haircut of Elvis Presley, he's entirely wrong. Hal is also very noticeably obsessed with power, staking a claim on someone
I'm her partner.
such as Roxanne, seeing Metro Man with all of his physical attributes and aspiring to be those attributes. He also fears Metro Man even though they have the same exact powers at the end of the movie, where he doesn't fear Megamind, something to notice. Hal off the bat says that he would be stalking her like a dingo watches a human baby, whatever that means. Red flag maybe? I don't know. The problem Hal has is, well, he's a bit of a loser. Let me preface that nice guy syndrome doesn't pertain to exclusively guys. This is one thing that can go both ways. I've experienced it from others, and for any nice guys out there, please stop it, it's not worth it. The next experience between Roxanne and Hal is very awkward, and it comes off to perpetuate this nice guy syndrome. Hal in this situation tries to invite Roxanne to his very tiny apartment for a gallon of dip, a bouncy house, a DJ, and a wedding photographer, while there's also a picture of her on his wall. Okay, little creepy. Yeah, little creepy. Yeah, Oh, and even better, this was gonna just be the 2 of them. No one else, just the 2 of them. Little creepy, huh? During this conversation, Hal continuously goes out of his way to try and gaslight Roxanne into going to his place for a soft yes on Thursday, literally. negating what she said about not wanting to go and be around other people, just not wanting to go in general, saying no thank you, where he continues to suggest that's a yes. Also, how no one likes clowns, everyone loves bouncy houses. Seriously, dude. Something very important to notice is how uncomfortable Hal makes Roxanne in this scene. And he did it in the scene before, but her visible reaction to him suggesting to her that she should really go made her force the conversation to come to an end. Again, this is all very subtle. It's played for laughs because Megamind doesn't talk down to its audience. It's having adult level emotions and conversations in front of younger audiences so that they can pick up on everything happening subtly. I'll admit, as a kid, I didn't catch on to all this, but that's kind of the genius of it. This movie got a lot of love late after its release, and I think that's because people who were 10 when the movie came out, like I was, didn't understand everything. As we grew up, we saw things that we never noticed about the movie as kids, now as adults, which I suppose this movie is kind of brilliant for. Despicable Me is very obviously a movie made for a younger audience, with fart jokes galore and a simple story. Megamind isn't meant to be simple, and with this all-star cast, I really have to say I think they smacked the ball out of the park with this story and how they portray their villain. Regardless, something I haven't really addressed is this nice guy syndrome, and what's being displayed is a difference between nice and good. Because when I say nice guy throughout this video, I don't actually mean a nice person. I mean someone who says they're nice, but in reality, isn't. You've seen that a lot on the internet lately. Being nice in such context is about transaction. People are nice in this scenario because they want something out of it. I'm being nice so that I can get XYZ in return. And Hal's example is I'm going to be nice in my own mind so that Roxanne will fall in love with me, even though I may or may not, in such case, deserve this, which in this case not. Being good, on the other hand, is not about transaction. Being good, on the other hand, is about one of the most basic yet important characteristics of being human, giving love. Not because we want love in return, but because giving love is, as humans, our greatest fulfillment. When Roxanne and Bernard have their first interaction in regards to Megamind's lair, with the abandoned observatory on the top, there's an interaction between Roxanne, Bernard, and Hal. What happens here is Hal shows his jealousy. He's not getting the attention he thinks he deserves, and he sees someone else get that attention that he thinks he deserves. He gaslights Roxanne and tells her that she should be hugging him. He says it was weird for all of them. All of what Hal shows right here, again played for laughs, is entirely too real in the case of the nice guy syndrome. Gaslighting, jealousy, manipulation is taking claim on someone who doesn't want you. Hal completely negates Roxanne's feelings by suggesting she's been through a traumatic experience, and even telling Bernard that he's her partner after she explicitly said that Bernard was her partner. Hal suggesting Roxanne has been through a traumatic experience is him trying to force his control over the situation. Again, power. Trying to, in a way, tell her what she feels is because of trauma, and she doesn't actually feel that way. It's very awkward, but it's genius writing. It shows us who Hal really is, while also depicting this nice guy syndrome that's prevalent throughout his character. Not long after that, we see Hal tell Megamind and Minion to rob the lady across the hall from him because she has more than him.
Because the lady across the hall has way better stuff than me.
Again, not good behavior from someone you want to become a superhero. It's selfish, inherently, and as it is, it's the crux of nice guy syndrome. When Hal becomes Titan, his interest in becoming a hero is only so that he can get Roxanne. The entire training montage during the film is about Hal learning how to fight Megamind, but the truth is, Hal's only focus on being this hero is so that he can get Roxanne. He doesn't care about justice or even helping people. His only desire is to get the girl, reducing a person to an object, being another crux of this nice guy syndrome. Going in either direction of gender or sex, this transaction is about what the nice guy wants, not having what the receiving party wants. While yes, Megamind does lie to Roxanne and is lying to Roxanne during this scenario, she actually wants to be around Bernard, and that is the most incredible thing that happens to Megamind. While again, lying is a no-no, Megaman finally becomes the Megaman that he's always been. Actually a good person. He is no longer interested in being the supervillain, and he even says that. He doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. Before Titan kidnaps Roxanne, he's literally stalking her. I mean, come on, bro. And then Roxanne gets kidnapped by Titan. And this is really where we see everything come together. All the subtle hints played for laughs and turned into reality by Titan. He kidnaps her so that he can make her fall in love with him, and he believes he deserves it, and then Roxanne tells him that there will never be an us. He throws a tantrum and leaves her on top of Metro City's version of the Burj Khalifa.
Moss smart being drunk.
From the beginning of their flight scene, it's very uncomfortable to see how she reacts to being picked up by him. This isn't one of those manufactured conflicts you see in kids' movies all the time. It happens very organically, and it shows two characters who haven't had any romantic anything have a conflict. Hal's reaction to denial is throwing a tantrum and flying off. Meanwhile, Roxanne is trying to, survive. From there, Hal becomes the villain of the story. He's entirely focused on destroying the city because he can, because he has that power, because Hal was never a good guy. He was just a nice guy. He only wanted to have what he couldn't have, because as a person, we cannot control another person's free will, to which someone under the curse of nice guy syndrome won't actually understand. It's hard on the idea that someone has to love me because I'm me. Someone needs to love me because I do the bare minimum of niceness for you. It's the same thing as holding a door for someone and expecting them to marry you. They have no obligation to do anything for you, because holding a door for someone is just kind. It's something nice to do, something that we as humans should do as a form of love in our own hearts, not for the thanks that comes after, not for the reward that comes from doing something nice for somebody else, but because of the kindness in our hearts. The nice guy syndrome displayed by Hal is jealousy, gaslighting, and toxicity. Though as much as I've gone off on Hal, the other two predominant male characters in the story do have their flaws as well. For Megamind, he never really seems to care about being a hero, which is really interesting as a character study, because it seems he was forced to be a hero and didn't want it. Like, the powers he had were cool, but they didn't really make him happy. And so the more quandary for Megamind is, should he serve the people of Metro City because they need him, but he didn't ask for those powers that he has, or should he choose himself because as an individual he has free will? Anyways, Megamind does a great job of showing us a villain we've never really seen before, and truthfully, was a story ahead of its time. Yeah, sure, it sits in the shadows of the dystopian world we live in, where yellow child-sized bananas rule the world, but Megamind will always be, in my mind, the superior story out of the two. Maybe we should be glad that Megamind wasn't milked to death by copious sequels and merch opportunities like Despicable Me. I know that might be subtle, but anyways, I love you all, and cut.
I have eyes that can see right through lead.